You're doing pretty good at it.
I like to pretend that I got it figured out, but most of the time is not the case.
I'm just glad we still got America back here.
Absolutely. All right, rolling. I think we're rolling. I got the red dot. All right, guys, welcome back to the Silver Bullet Podcast. James, thank you for coming back on. I got to tell you.
A little break there, huh?
Hate to tell you. Last podcast with the females.
The views went up.
Laura and Lisa, they went up a lot. So I don't know if we need to change your appearance or people just don't like you.
If they don't like me, it's all right.
It's fine. Yeah. That's okay. Not that big of a deal. I just,
right.
just giving you a hard time.
As long as they like you.
Yeah, right. Probably not. Anywho, so just giving you a hard time. We have a pretty cool topic we're going to talk about today because I think it's definitely one that we're passionate about. I think it's kind of created our identity as a business, and as also as health and wellness coaches. And I specifically said health and wellness coaches and not performance coaches because this is going to sound kind of contradictory. But we are going to talk very specifically about getting strong in the summertime and using a time frame to be very particular about this goal.
Right.
Okay. So essentially, when I came to Reclaim here in
eons ago,
whatever that was, I came in the spring. Okay, so I was in the spring.
Yeah.
But as soon as summer got here, you started this thing called Strength Camp, and I was like,
cranked it up.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. It was like, I don't know what this Strength Camp is. And, I saw what was going on, and I kind of understood the programming, the philosophy behind it, the how everything was going, but I didn't really understand the why and why there was so much emphasis on it. So I want to start there because that's what this conversation is about. This conversation is about Strength Camp. And I want to preface before we get into our topic here, regardless if you are a member of Reclaim, like this is valuable information, we believe, for anybody who is in the fitness world right now. We're going to throw out a lot of reasons why you should dedicate 12 weeks of your summer to just getting strong.
Right.
So kind of start off from there, wherever you want to go.
Sure. When I started Reclaim, prior, working with a lot of PT clients in the past at Anytime Fitness and just other individuals I trained shortly thereafter, I didn't have access to a barbell, a lot of bumpers, free weights, everything else, right? A lot of things we used to do, suspension trainer, kettlebell, other strength tools and things that we could implement, and there is nothing wrong with any of those tools. They're great things. You can do a lot of things with them. We do many things with them. But I never saw that strength that I wanted in the clients that I used to work with because I just didn't have the tools there to do it. So I knew one of my goals in teaching and educating on how to use a barbell properly and what that looked like, how to do it safely, and how to continue to get stronger in that, those specific disciplines and movement patterns would lend a lot of individuals to better results. And many of them did see better results. When we'll unravel all of that. But yeah, the main reason why I had Strength Camp was this just intense, hyper-focused, we're getting the bars out, we're going to deadlift, we're going to squat, we're going to bench press, we're going to military press. I think those were the four main things that we did. And you're going to get good at those movements.
Right.
You're going to get tired of those movements, but you should. Right. You're going to get good. You're going to see increases, and you should be stronger as a result.
By the time it's all said and done. Right. So the thing that you said there, word-wise, I'm going to pick apart, was that you said we're going to be hyper focused on this one aspect.
Right.
And that's 100% what it was, because I remember coming in and seeing the board and looking at the strength sets, looking at the accessory work, how well it complemented each other, and then days, weeks go by, and I'm like, holy cow, that's all these guys are doing. We're just lifting heavy. We're doing compound movements. They're doing unilateral accessory stuff. They're doing core work, and that's it. And I could remember that very first season of Strength Camp, or that very first camp that went through, and seeing, physically seeing people change.
Right.
It was so weird until you sat me down look, this is why I believe in this and why it works. And then I'm like, okay, I'm sold. And then now we were, up until last year because of COVID, obviously, we were 3-4 years in a row of doing a strength camp in the summer. And the strength camp has always evolved a little bit. It's been changed a little bit. I changed a little bit of it when I started taking over the programming. But why, I guess in your mind, a hyper focus on just strength work? What benefit does that lend to anybody during the summertime?
Right. The biggest thing that the summer will allow, especially where we live, southeastern Indiana, you're going to have a lot more opportunity to be in sunlight. Therefore, you get outside. You should have a lot more opportunity for recovery.
Right.
Vitamin D, your body will receive a lot more of it, and it's just more. It's the natural form of it, so it's more beneficial. Hormones will then be able to balance themselves out. The body is typically, depending on schedules and whatnot, in a little bit of a less stressed state. So if there's a time that we're going to ramp up intensity as far as lifting volume, that's the time to do it, because we can heal from it, we can build more muscle, we can ingrain that movement pattern, and you're just going to be a more efficient lifter. Regardless, you said in the beginning, if individuals don't want to increase their performance, like I don't understand what that means. I want to increase my performance all the time. Like I just want to be able to move better, run faster, jump higher, play with my kids harder, like whatever that is. We want to get better, right?
Yeah, yeah. And someone would argue that is performance.
Yeah,
right.
It is performance.
Yeah. So it's a good point, because like typically in that time of the year, we do have a little bit more decreased stress. And I think that's why a lot of people like looking at it now. Because I mean, we have some members here that are really geeked out about it. They're excited. It's coming up. It's just something they look forward to. And there's always a handful that are just like, I dread this thing that's coming up, and I 100% get it. There are a lot of people that are super high stressed right now. There are people that are dealing with a lot of things on their plate that is totally behind the curtains for us to see right now. But you can just tell. You tell by their demeanor, the way that they move while they're in here, their attitude towards others. Like, yeah, I probably wouldn't be geeked about strength camp either, but we're anticipating that you're going to be in a little bit better state once you get there.
Right.
Okay, with that being said, I think this becomes the bulk topic of conversation here. Lifting in the summer is super good for your health based on the sunlight, the length of the day, recovery purposes, all of those good things. But for a lot of people, and let's talk females specifically, not to pick on females, it's just who I get this concern about the most. Everybody talks about getting bulky associated with getting strong. It's not a synonymous term to throw back and forth. You can increase the performance of a muscle and not increase the size.
For sure.
Very hard to get bulky.
Right.
I know a lot of lifters in here, that female lifters in here, that have been doing it for a long time, and they would tell you that it's not as easy as whoever on social media is making it seem to be. You can get strong without really changing your actual physical composition as far as muscle size goes. But a lot of people don't realize that by lifting, and exclusively lifting, you can have a better opportunity to lose body fat during this time of year for a very specific reason. You want to cover that a little bit? I know there's like 3 different areas you could go, but I'll take something else that you don't say.
Sorry, rephrase that question a little bit.
So during the summer, how people can lift exclusively during strength camp, and as a fortunate side effect, not the thing you're training for, but as a side effect, you can lose body fat.
Yeah, body fat decrease. My bad. I was gonna mention something, and then
I threw you off.
Yeah, I was like, where was I at? As you train more in this strength camp like opportunity, and as we gain more strength, as the body is more efficient in those movements, we do increase strength. There can be the opportunity for more muscle mass to be put on. All right, we're not talking bulky. Okay, and then through that, you're going to be able to burn more energy through the course of a day, week to week, month to month, whatever. Then that's where that body fat will start to be able to come off. Okay, especially. A lot of individuals coming in, if you're doing a squat or a deadlift workout and you're doing like maximal loads, sometimes like lifting really, really heavy weight, and I'm not talking like 90%, 95% of your one rep max, but heavier loads, time under tension, you're going to burn more calories from that than maybe even some of the crazy assault bike work and stuff that we would do. It just kind of depends on the person, the amount of lean mass that they have overall. body fat loss isn't the goal, it's not the focus, but through gaining strength and having more dense tissue, it's just going to be a natural side effect. It's just going to happen.
So for the main one that most people talk about is, muscle mass putting on, okay? That requires you to eat a very specific way. Make sure you eat enough protein, you recover well, all those fun things.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to say. When individuals are like, I don't want to get
off on tangents.
Bulky. Well, this is what I was going to allude to. A lot of times individuals get bulky because they eat junk and then they're just inflamed all the time and they think it's the workout's fault.
Muscle swells. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So anyway, the perfect scenario would be that you put on lean mass and body fat tissue decreases, but you don't change the scale, right? That can happen with a lot of new lifters, and for a lot of our new clients that are here, members of the gym that go through strength camp, that's probably going to happen to them.
Right.
But that's the most common thing that we want to see happen. It doesn't always happen for people. So here's another side of it, okay? And without actually gaining any muscle tissue, you can actually better activate your entire body, which then burns more calories. So you don't actually change any weight. Okay, if I force you to do deadlifts and then single leg glute bridges and I cover the entire hip, the entire lower region of your body and all those large muscle groups to be a lot more active compared to just doing one set of deadlifts and then moving on to a conditioning workout.
Right.
I can create more activity within your pelvis, and more activity requires more energy. More energy requires more calories, and then calories, if you're in a caloric deficit, I mean, guess what? You unintentionally lose weight.
Yeah.
And hopefully by the way that you eat, that weight is body fat. Now there's a third way that people unintentionally lose weight, and I specifically say unintentionally because nobody goes into strength camps like, I'm going to get super duper duper lean and lose a lot of weight here.
Right.
No, your job is to get super duper strong, and as a consequence, your body is going to become better at regulating specifically hormones.
Yes.
So this time of year, there's a reason we do it during the summer and not during Thanksgiving, Christmas time.
Right.
All right. And a lot of it has to do with stress and management of cortisol. Okay, vitamin D does wonders for helping you balance cortisol and balance all kinds of hormonal regulation frequencies. But specific to gaining strength is going to be your body's ability to manage cortisol, so that way HGH, insulin, and a lot of your other growth producing hormones are better sensitive, receptive, better regulated to the point where, people gain strength so quick and rapidly doing just straight linear programming, and they're so shocked by it because it seems so simple and so simplified, which I know you talked about simplified programming here in a second, I want you to talk about.
Sure.
That their body recovers better. It recovers better than it ever did here during the springtime, doing any type of high cardiovascular conditioning or HIIT workouts or any of those things. Like, the body appreciates an entire removal from a stimulus that you've been beaten in the head with for the past however long.
Right.
Okay, and for us, it'll be 6 months.
Sure.
6 months on the dot of doing a very specific program, and guess what? Your body wants that break.
Yep.
Okay? Whether you want it or not, it's up to you, but your body wants that break from a hormonal standpoint.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Can we touch on that?
Yeah, touch on it.
This stems back to multiple things. Number one, it's fresh in my mind because it's from a podcast I just listened to the other day. Number two, it's been my ongoing journey and story. Anytime I felt my best and performed my best and recovered my best from my workouts are when I had the most simplistic workout possible.
Right.
Not a ton of just crazy variation, not a lot of just intense exercises, and there is a time and a place for that. And unfortunately, I'm going to say CrossFit. CrossFit is a great thing for individuals that can recover from it and they understand what they're putting themselves into, and that they can do that. But for the average individual to just go into that kind of workout program and intensity and think that with kids, with stress from work, potential financial stress, and many other things, that they're going to then recover from this crazy intense workout regimen, it's just naive. I mean, there's not a lot of logic that goes into that thought process. So getting to why we like strength camp, why we do it, the foundation from it, if you come in here and you have very simple things to do, that's one of the less stressed things that your brain and your body then has to undergo for the workout. Like, literally, your brain doesn't have to work very hard. I'm going to squat again today. Guess what? my body knows how to squat.
Yep.
Let's just load up weight and like go through the movement properly. You get efficient at it, and then it becomes this discipline, this methodical thing where you get better and better and better from it. And then when you go into a state where you are no longer as stressed, we can implement some of that other stuff.
It's better creating efficiency within the movement. The more efficient you are, guess what? Consequently, the stronger you are usually, right?
You say it all the time, and I know that I see it, and I used to say it too when I coached a lot of the classes. If we're regressing everything in this intense workout that you're going through, this workout isn't helping you out at all.
No.
Because these movements are picked and correlated for specific purposes, but you're not doing it, you know?
That's why I stopped programming wall balls.
So like, like let's just do the thing. Let's do it the best way that we can so we actually get something out of it.
Yeah, and we always put the ball in everybody's court. It's like, look, I even started, anytime we do high volume air squat stuff, like I say, I'm not going to badger you guys anymore. Some of you have been here for 5 years. I know how low you're going to squat. I know how low you're capable of squatting, but I know how low you're going to do air squats. And if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that.
Right.
I'm going to tell you that it's not.
It's called wisdom, brother.
It is. It's like you're not doing it unsafely.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you, it's you're burning a third of the calories compared to if you just put your butt on your ankles. But anywho, yeah. So same type of concept. I love this topic because I think a lot of people, when we talk about strength camp, there's like we're going into a lazy period of time where coaches just don't want to program and they just want to do strength work because that's easy to. It's not clever, it's not scientific, it's not any of that stuff. This is the old stuff that works on the textbooks that are dusty in the back of the physiology and testing in prescription rooms, and it's like, this is what works, but there's a lot more deep-rooted reasoning for it.
Sure.
It's not that we just want you to get jacked and tan.
Right.
We're giving you a 12-week hormonal vacation.
We actually care about your health.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to. I'm trying really hard.
And that's the thing. Unfortunately, like we don't program for sexiness and appeal, and that we're trying to sell this thing to the masses because that's what everyone's doing. We take more of a stance like, look, if we're going to do this thing, we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it with integrity, and we're going to actually do stuff that helps you out.
Guess what?
And maybe
there's a chance,
don't like it, but maybe it's because you're not good at it.
And there's a chance you could still get sexy doing it.
For sure.
100%. Anyways. Yeah, it's a fight against what people see versus what we do.
Right.
It's so against the grain. We have this great facility. We have all this cool, fancy equipment, but we don't do CrossFit. We have all of these fancy, shiny objects and toys and all these different things, but we don't use them outside their designated purpose.
Right.
Like, we are the shiniest, boring thing in the world, but I get so... I love saying that boring works.
Right, it does.
And it does. And so, like, we have, we talked about examples of people who went through strength camp in prior years and just kind of talking about their story. We won't name them specifically because I don't really have permission to talk about them on here. But it's like, a lot of people go into it with the exact same expression every year. It's they're going to throw 300 pounds in the bar and expect me to back squat it. That's not the case at all.
No, we want you individually to get stronger with what you have.
And
right
just
now.
about every day we're doing a strength component to a workout, but now we're just going to focus the entire hour on it.
Right.
And so I think it's funny because a lot of people, how am I going to burn the calories if I'm not breathing hard? How am I going to lose body fat if I'm not on that bike or drenched in my own sweat? Like that. And I've made the point facetiously sometimes where, somebody does a set of 10 back squats. I'm like, you're going to tell me right now that you burn more calories in 30 seconds on that bike than you just did doing 10 back squats at 70% of your 1 rep max?
Right.
I said, you're full of crap.
Right.
Because you can't go fast enough on that bike to burn 5 calories. I guarantee you it took more to do that.
Yeah.
So here's a double-sided thing. People are like, well, I need to do the conditioning stuff because I'm breathing hard. But you're not working as hard doing that. Now, that is a hard one to swallow because nobody wants to be told that their work ethic sucks. And it's not necessarily your work ethic, it's your quality of movement within the certain program or the workout for the day and how much regressing you actually have to do from it.
For sure.
Okay? People are very strong, and the problem with getting stronger is your percentages go up. and that makes the lifts harder. It never gets any easier getting strong.
Right.
And there are some people in a couple other classes that I'm running, like specifically my weightlifting class, that are PRing their 5 and 10 rep maxes. And guess what that does? It bumps everything up. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, thought I was getting stronger. It's like, you are, but you don't want that ease to ever occur. So when people think strength campers are like, I don't want to go through that because it is hard.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
Strength camp is challenging, but that's why it's a camp. It's a challenge. It's a special hyper focus, I think was the word you used, on getting strong.
Yeah, we have to. If you're not coming in here and you don't want to challenge yourself, I'm sorry, I don't really know what you're coming in here for.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to pick up a different service within what we offer or elsewhere. But I have to say that this strength
that's not
camp,
everybody.
It has to be a challenge. You should want to be challenged. If we're not looking to improve day to day, week to week, month to month, whatever, like where we're just showing up to play patty cake.
Well, there are some people, and I think that's just our fault, our default for being type A personalities, that there's no change. I don't care what workout you're doing. They could be doing the conditioning style workouts. They could be doing the more regress strength training. You know, we always have 2 different types of workouts within our large group systems. They could be doing PT. Like if there's no change in your performance within years, like there's something that you're not doing.
Right.
And more than likely it's not what you're doing here, it's elsewhere, right? But especially if you're somebody who's bounced around from different programs and you've never changed, like physiology works for everybody. Right. I mean, that's kind of a standard, you know, on how biomechanics and physiology and stimulus works. So like you're getting the same stimulus as everybody, but you're not changing. Like you can't outwork by choosing different things in different times of the year either your bad habits, your bad sleep, your bad recovery, your pain management, your whatever.
Sure.
And that's another reason why, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, strength camp is so beneficial, is because that hyper focus removes so much stress from all of the different crap that is going on, and it makes it easier to recover from, to the point where you might just find out that recovery in itself for 12 weeks might have been the best thing that's ever happened to you.
For sure, yeah.
And as a consequence, guess what? You start losing body fat.
Yeah.
Remember, body fat retention is a preservation method. If your body's chronically stressed, it's going to hold on to body fat tissue.
Right.
Like, if you just look at body fat as only that, a lot of this would make sense. Like, you hold on to excess body fat because of a preservation method that your body thinks it's going through. Like, something bad is happening, hold on to this fat because it is a precious commodity that we're going to need later because this person's trying to kill us.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think to make it as like potentially simplistic as possible for the individuals listening, even if your goal coming into this, like let's say you don't want to increase your numbers tremendously and all the stuff, you're like, well, okay, that's great. I'm not really interested in that. Even if it's just to be a technician at specific movements, like I just want to be able to master this movement and get like as good at it as possible. So then when strength camp is over, there's not so much thought that has to go into place when you approach a bar. Like, approach the bar with confidence that you're like, I know how to do this thing. Yeah. I'm going to do it well.
Especially if you're somebody that does do the conditioning style or the very high intensity stuff where you have a compound movement, let's say like deadlifts in the workout. With the amount of stress that's going on in that workout, you don't have time to think and go through 7 different bracing steps. It needs to be subconscious. You got to be able to go through it without even thinking about it, right? Now's the time to better that. One
of the most taxing things, it was Christian Thibodeau. That was the guy that had the podcast talking about adrenaline and just, strength training and whatnot. And he said when individuals approach a bar, if they think that they're not going to be able to lift the weight, or if it's at a percentage that maybe they've never lifted before, there's so much adrenaline that happens in the body at that moment. And then afterwards, it's just a cortisol dump.
Huge dump. Let's talk about, I think, one of the biggest fears outside of people that are concerned that, I'll either get bulky or I'll put on weight because I'm not burning enough calories, which I'll refute that with anybody. Like, you're gonna burn so many calories if you lift heavy, you move intently, and you do all the working sets, and you challenge your body in that regard. Let's talk about people who get worried based on injury or previous history, or they're afraid that heavy lifting is what is going to cause them to be injured. Like, I think that is probably the second most common question that I get, or concern. We'll put it concern. What do you have to say on that one?
I think with in regards to injury, especially if there's a previous injury, we always want to kind of understand, all right, why is this thing happening? And sometimes it is a lack of movement quality, but more so than not, there are other things going on outside of the facility that we're just not addressing.
Yeah, but nobody wants to talk about that. So what else?
Okay. If I would say then the individual, I firmly believe individuals get hurt lifting weights because they don't approach the weight with confidence.
I can see that
more than anything.
Yeah, I can see that. I can also see that people get fatigued and kind of let their ego get the best of them sometimes.
Right.
I don't see that happen a lot. Like, we have some really smart people here.
Yeah.
We preach listening to your body almost to a fault,
Sure.
where it's like, my body hurts, I should probably take weight off. And it's like, no, you got to try harder. Like,
well,
that's sometimes a fault. However, I think that confidence is a huge one, because as soon as you're not confident in your positioning, your technique, or your whatever, like, you start questioning anything, you're going to be guarded. Your body's going to start guarding itself, because you've already stimulated that electrical signal through the body. Like, hey, not sure what this is going to be like. Everybody just brace for impact.
Right,
you know what I mean? And that can be a problem.
Yeah, I just told a guy this the other day. He was actually doing some sets with me, and I was like, look, as you keep adding up weight, if you don't think you're going to be able to lift that, don't even try. Like, just walk away from it.
Yeah, and there's no real catastrophic problem when you just, like, you know what, this isn't in me today.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I think, and there's a couple other areas that I want to touch on, but, like, I think one of the big things, especially the way that we look at programming strength camp, and we did it last strength camp, so not last year, but 2 years ago, we put very, very, very special emphasis on unilateral movements for accessory stuff. So essentially, you get through all of your training. We do a prehab, we go through the main movement of the day, we do the secondary movement, the accessory. Like, if there's anything to take advantage of during strength camp, it is to regain the health of your ailment.
Yep.
100%.
And allow the body to move with proper function. I mean, when we split the body up into, you now having to move in parts, and not just as this one-dimensional up and down plane or whatever, you get to identify where your weaknesses are.
100%.
And now we can help you work out of that weakness, so post-strength training, you're better at everything else anyway.
100% on that, because, like I said, once again, your body is craving this 12-week period. I would definitely say 10 to 12 weeks. 12-week period where it just has nothing to focus on except for getting strong. And as a consequence, like, you'd be really surprised what your body fat does, especially if you're holding on to excess. But back to the injury ailment, I think the most common thing that we see and we experience in here is going to be shoulder issues, and that's transparency. Okay, if you lift a lot of free weights, if you have any kind of poor posture, if you have anything ailing you in the T-spine, like, anytime you put anything over your head, your body's fighting itself. We work to stay ahead of a lot of it. We do a lot of prehab, do a lot of mobility stuff, and for the most part, we've done really good at offsetting a lot of that. Yep. But it's still inevitable that sometimes when you have free moving objects overhead and the stability isn't there, the activation isn't there, one day you're gonna be like, yeah, my shoulder's a little sore. Knees, low back, like, these are problem areas that we see a lot, and there's an easy tie-in to say why a lot of it hurts. A lot of it is excess inflammation, 100%. But that doesn't mean that we're taking away that there could be any structural integrity issues going on, in which case we stay out of it. We don't try to wear a hat that's not ours.
Right.
We can only go based off of a joint-by-joint basis. This is how I do it. Okay, your joint hurts here. Okay, I'm going to look below and above to figure out where you're tight or where you're too loose. Okay, where you're not active versus where you're active. And usually 80-ish% of the time we can identify it. It's just a matter of spending the time to fix it.
That's the thing.
That's the thing. Here is your 12-week period. Here's your 12-week period to sit down and fix your shoulder issue. Here's the 12-week period to sit down and fix your inactive glutes. Here's your 12-week period to really work on your ankle stability, so that way it doesn't hurt your back while you're squatting. Like, people, we've seen a lot of transformations on people during strength camp because of all of the emphasis on unilateral, all the emphasis on stability, all the emphasis on a controlled understanding that if my joints can support one another really, really well, I can be very, very strong.
Right.
And like you said, you do it for 12 weeks and it sets you in a better position for when you start what's next, after that programming is done. So,
well, and I think the thing that I want to do to kind of, again, help Colton, and I used to do it to help myself, when we program for groups, we're thinking of the group at hand. We're not writing, said person's fill in the blank fat loss program.
Right.
So if you're bringing that mindset to strength camp or just any kind of like workout program, especially when it's group related, you have to identify like, if this is the best way to help the group out, how do I fit into that equation?
Like, what can
what can I learn from this opportunity instead of, well, this thing doesn't line up with my goal. I'm not really sure I believe in that. We just need to figure out like, how does this line up with your goal?
I think that we could refute that by saying that, regardless what your goal is, there's something beneficial here that you should really consider doing. I think most of the time it's just people that don't, they don't enjoy lifting heavy. So it's like, how do I get you to enjoy the process of gaining strength?
Yeah.
Maybe we call it lifting heavy. How can I get you to enjoy the process of gaining strength? You know what I mean? And that's a simple one. I can get you to move better.
Yeah.
And most people are like, well, I can squat, I can deadlift, I can pull, I can press, but you can press better. You can pull better. You can squat better. And you just won't believe it until you do it.
Right.
Like nobody believes that their squat can get any better until they start working on their ankles for 4 weeks and they're like, holy crap, I feel so comfortable and it's taking so much pressure off my lower back. It's like, how is that even possible? It's biomechanics. It's pretty simple, actually. Same thing for having some lat mobility the next time you go overhead. That way your rib cage doesn't flare up in the air and cause all kind of excess extension. 100%. Like all these things that we know and we preach, it's happened to us.
Right.
I had a catastrophic back injuries. I've had 5 or 6 of them through college to the point where they're like, oh, you're not going to lift anymore. And then a chiropractor's like, yeah, well, they're full of crap. Listen to me. Here's how this works. And so it's all happened to us to the point where, like, I'm still to this day, I'm 30 years old, I don't like deadlifting. You, on the other hand, I see you do deadlift. 2 sets and you're at 455. You know what I mean? For singles. So it's like there's an entire different dynamic here, but we both appreciate strength camp because I know the benefit it would do. If I went through strength camp 100%, I guarantee you I'd have skyrocketed confidence in my deadlift.
Definitely. Like, well, even I write my program for myself because I want to lift how I want to lift because that's what I get enjoyment of. But strength camp is the one time of the year where I'm like, man, I might
write it up.
In on
somebody write it up and tell me what we're doing. Yeah, it's just it's fun once you understand and you appreciate it. And it's hard to get people to do that, and I get it. That's fine. I don't want people to assume that this is or how we've been doing stuff the other 8 months of the year. Like, this is how Reclaim is operated. We were operated on the foundational, or we were started on the foundations that you will get strong and put on lean mass, and that will decrease your body fat because there's no negative consequence of becoming strong.
Absolutely not. If you don't want to be, just everyone should be strong.
Yeah, I didn't say you're going to be 500-pound Eddie Hall pulling 1,200-pound deadlifts or anything like that, because there's plenty of health consequences there. Well, but getting stronger.
As we age, we just should not, I would hope, we don't want to be like a frail individual. I don't want that for myself. I don't want it for you. I don't want it for my wife. I don't want it for any of our members. And strength with a barbell especially brings on confidence. And a more confident person, you're just going to be better off in everything.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And that's just a stance that we've always taken and where we've always tried to lead people. But one last thing on specifically strength camp, and for those of you that are not members of our facility, this is mainly for you guys because everybody that's here understands how our facility operates. We are a free weight gym only, okay? Meaning barbells, bumpers, steel plates. Like,
we got some cables hanging around here and there.
They don't do much, but so it is 100% focused on strength of the barbell.
Right.
Okay. I'm not talking about a Smith machine. I'm talking about a free floating barbell. That doesn't mean that if you are not part of this community here at Reclaim that you can't take advantage of a strength camp elsewhere.
Right.
Okay. If steel cables and sliding plates is all you got, you can do this.
Sure.
Okay? It is very simple. You just have to put a conscious and focused effort in on doing strength work, on perfecting movement, on bettering technique, on increasing your body's grip strength. This is a really weird topic that I know you love talking about, but I always will bring it up at the beginning of strength camp. If there's one thing I want to make stronger in these given 12 weeks here, it's your grip.
Right.
And that's something that everybody's like, it's okay, it seems kind of weird. Elaborate.
Like, hopefully you're talking about central nervous system, because that's where I'm going to go.
Yeah, I was hoping.
We connected there.
Right.
If you approach a barbell, especially on a deadlift, and the weight just feels phenomenally like just heavy, and it shouldn't. Let's say it's the bar only, like 135 pounds, or I don't know, 95 pounds.
Yeah, good luck with this. You just can't throw out a weight and be like, oh, he's talking about me.
If the weight is like 25% of what your max is, that should feel super light. You should be ripping that thing off the ground. And if it doesn't, if it feels heavy, that is a telltale sign you have zero recovery. Your central nervous system is shot. There is some adrenal fatigue going on, and it is not from the workouts. I'm going to stand firm on that more and more and more. It's lifestyle related.
Yeah.
And it's something you have to fix and address. So for us, it's like, hey, now we know this thing. Let's dig in a little bit. Let's press.
Yeah. So grip strength is like a telltale sign of how well your nervous system is firing. Okay. Right. Your nervous system triggers all of your muscle activation. Right. Nervous system a little lagging, a little slow. Like, guess what? Muscles don't fire quick. Everything feels heavier than hell. It was one thing that I started putting emphasis on a couple years ago, and they're like, well, how do I train my grip strength? And I was like, do all the stuff that you're not doing here correctly, and once again, it goes back to why we're doing strength camp in the summer, why we're doing it when the days are longer, when it's hotter, when there's more sun, more vitamin D. Naturally, we will be in here deadlifting, squatting, pressing, doing all those things, but your grip strength is naturally going to get stronger without even doing grip strength focused movements.
Right.
And so at the end of 12 weeks, I'm like, do you feel like your grip strength has gotten better? And people are like, yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like, okay, those last 12 weeks that we just did getting you strong had nothing to do with your strength of, muscle motor units, had nothing to do with your performance output there. It was all about your ability to recover better.
For sure.
And that was a secondhand consequence of just focusing on strength.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Right. And that's the American way, like, how do I make my grip strength better? Well, your grip strength shouldn't be bad, so let's just focus on recovering and it'll get better.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but that's how the body works. You pair that with, obviously, time under tension with a lot of different movements, it's naturally going to get better. But for a lot of people, it's interesting because it's one of the telltale signs of people that I can tell, like, they're having a good day, they're having a bad day. And you can just tell by their white knuckles whether or not it's a good day or a bad day, and how they grip the bar or grip a kettlebell or whatever the case is. You can just tell when people are sitting there just, like, grabbing their hands because they're cramping so bad. It's like, okay, it's only the second set. What's going on?
That's a great point to bring up. Relying then on tools and other things, like chalk's a great thing, and it can help you out just as much as like a lifting strap. But if you're overriding the system to then accomplish a weight when it's just not there, now you're leading yourself, especially in a deadlift, to like more and more and more opportunity to not recover.
Right. Right. Yeah, so there's a lot of recovery practice that gets taught during our strength camp and will be taught this year. But the biggest thing to really wrap all this thing up, or wrap this talk up, is that there is a reason why we've selected a 12-week period to do a strength camp with specific focus on bettering your health. And it's not an inaccurate statement, it just turns people off because they're like, it's the middle of summer, I should have my beach body, I should be doing this and that, like how I need to be doing the high intensity this and that, or, I don't want to squat because
it's heavy. Watching your food January, February, March.
I know. Well, regardless, the biggest thing is to show that while we have a primary goal in our mind that is probably different than the primary goal in your mind, we're going to accomplish the same thing by means of something that is totally untraditional in the fitness space. Yeah. But we got all the proof in the world you need for it. It's just a matter of being committed in between the years. Like, if you, don't get me wrong, I love everybody that comes to our facility, but if anybody comes in on day one that is just like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do any of this, like, this isn't going to work for you. I can almost guarantee that you're not going to see any progress. Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen between your head before you're like, you know what? Okay, Okay, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to give it everything I got because I believe that this could work.
There you go. That's the thing. If you believe in us and you are willing to trust in the process, we can help you out. But we need your best effort. We need your 100%, which will change day to day. We just need that 100%, whatever that looks like. And we need you to bring it and believe in what we're doing, because then we can marry all of those things together.
Yeah, 100%. So if you guys are out there listening to this in podcast land or on YouTube and you're not a member of Reclaim, by all means, we'd love to have you here, especially if you're in southeastern Indiana. But if you're not, if you're working with a personal trainer, you're working on your own in your garage, or you belong to another fitness facility elsewhere, cool. Nothing wrong with that. Essentially, take 12 weeks. Mark it out whenever you want. Do it sometime in the summer. June and July is when we're going. We'll finish up at like second week in August. But pick 12 weeks and focus very specifically on some simplified linear programming. Okay, and this is very simple stuff here. Linear programming. Do your 5x5. Do your 5, 3, 2, 1. Do your 6x4. You can go bigger, faster, stronger.
Next year's conjugate super total.
Yeah, right. Okay, pick your very simple strength sets. Do 3 weeks of building, take a week off, or do 2 weeks of building, take a week off. But continue to move strength focused stuff. Do volume training unilaterally. Do single arm rows. Do single leg RDLs. Do single leg glute bridges. Do lateral movements in high volume, reps of 10 to 20. Do a lot of core work. Do a lot of stability training one day. Do a lot of actual rectus abdominis work, some lateral ab stuff, anti-rotation stuff.
Right.
Do all of that in higher volume sets and do it with little rest.
Sure.
Okay. Build as much volume as you can in the later half of your day, and at the very beginning, focus on being strong, move fast. And if you do that and you taper yourself into the last couple of weeks where you are really diving into doubles, singles, drop sets, getting to the point where you are really testing your nervous system, you're going to be really surprised at what happened to your body's ability to recover, nervous system wise, what it did from an endocrine system as far as hormones go, okay, and how your body has hopefully better managed cortisol and stress in general and replenished in the recovery sense. And you weren't even focused on any of that. You were just focused on getting strong.
I think one thing important to say, a lot of times, because it just relates to culture, social media, we all will look at like, man, I just want to do what this person's doing, I want to do what this person's doing, because they're successful in that. Yeah. And a lot of times it comes from, and I would wage to say more than not, those individuals have participated in some type of program that you mentioned, whether it be in high school or in college.
Sure.
They've built that foundation, they've done the boring work, they've built the volume, and now they're doing all of the crazy cool things that sells, but they did all of those other things prior to.
But it's supported by that foundation.
Yeah, that's what we're getting at.
Yeah.
Build the foundation.
Yeah, you got to build the foundation. You want anything fun to happen, worthwhile in the fitness space, where that's get very lean, peak your performance, best your health, whatever. Like, you got to have a foundation for it. This is where we do a lot of reconstruction of foundation building right here. Yep. So, I don't know, you got anything else you want to add to that? I mean, that's pretty good talk. I like that.
PT client, man.
I do got a PT client, yeah. So we're going to wrap this thing up. Guys, look forward to starting Strength Camp with all of our members. If you are not a member of Reclaim, I really hope you consider taking 12 weeks to let your body have that reset, build that foundation, and just focus on strength. A lot of accessory stuff, a lot of core work, and just get strong. Spend the days, the long summer days, getting strong, and you won't be disappointed what your body does, or how your body responds.
Yep, nothing wrong
like
with
that.
Stronger.
All right, guys, nothing wrong with getting stronger. Thanks for listening, guys. James and Colton talking to you. This is the Silver Bullet Podcast.